So one of the main keynote speakers at this year's Web Summit is Bill Ford. He's the executive chairman of the Ford Motor Company, and he's also the great-grandson of Henry Ford. Bill, welcome to Ireland again.
Thank you.
I suppose, first of all, you're here in Croke Park today because you're having a look at what developers are doing around your sync system. What's the idea of this hackathon today?
Well, actually, our whole business is changing, and it's changing very quickly. And so we're really leaving the era of being a car and truck manufacturer into one of being a mobility company. And part of that is to bring all the modern electronics that exist in the world into the realm of the vehicle, and that's what we're doing here today.
Mm-hmm. And there, as you say, there is huge disruption going on in the industry at the moment. What is Ford's vision as far as connected cars and smart technology is concerned in cars into the future?
Well, it's going to change dramatically, and so you've got two different types of driving environments. You have an urban driving environment where we desperately need change, and then you have a suburban and rural environment, which will be, in the future, look, I think, somewhat similar to today's. The urban environment is going to change dramatically, and so ultimately a car will be part of an interconnected network that will use all forms of transportation. So whether it's subways, trains, buses, taxis, pedestrians, or cars, they'll all be talking to each other, and you from your smartphone will be able to say, I'm here and I want to get there, and now smartphone, tell me the best way to do that.
From the point of view, though, of self-driving cars, we know Google are doing a lot of work and other companies are looking at that too. What's Ford's vision in that area? Is it something you're looking at in detail?
Absolutely. You know, we've been working on autonomous driving for some time, and it's really exciting. You know, one thing that's really been interesting too is this journey because, you know, we used to talk about autonomy being 25, 30 years away. We used to talk about connected vehicles being 10 to 15 years away. The world of technology is changing so quickly that all those timelines are just getting shorter and shorter and shorter. So it won't be 25 to 30 years and it won't be 10 to 15. It's happening, and we're invested heavily in both autonomous driving and connected vehicles.
While the industry, though, is getting ready for that, do you think people are ready for it? I mean, we've seen, I suppose, in recent times, Tesla announcing their autopilot system, which some people are, you know, a little bit skeptical about. Are people ready for autonomous driving?
Well, they aren't yet, but they will be, because what's happening is a lot of the features are going in already that will enable autonomous driving. So it won't be one day you'll wake up and have to choose, do I drive my conventional vehicle or do I get in this completely self-driving vehicle? Because by the time we make that last step to autonomy, so many of the features will already be in your car that you barely notice the difference.
As far as powering cars of the future is concerned, though, what do you think that the fuel of the future is? Is it electricity? Is it hydrogen? Is it a mixture of something new that we haven't come up with yet? Where do we stand?
Well, it's probably electric because, you know, while things like biofuels and hydrogen and compressed natural gas, they all have their place. I think in terms of tearing up the infrastructure, I think electricity is the most ready for prime time. We're making a big investment in electricity. We're also investing in all those others as well. But yes, so I think electric makes the most sense for the globe. And really in all its forms. You've got hybrids, plug-in hybrids, and pure electric.
We haven't seen quite, though, the real breakthrough in battery technology that we need to make these, I suppose, sustainable into the future, have we?
No, but we're getting close. I mean, we've changed the chemistries. You know, we started with lead acid, then we went to sodium sulfur, then nickel metal hydride, now we're at lithium ion. Each one is a step forward. You're right, we haven't had a quantum leap yet. You know, perhaps we will, but we're making enough progress, and the cost is starting to come down. And I think that's the equation, because the customer, it has to make sense for the customer.
Mm-hmm. I suppose the power of the future is important, not just for how we get around, but also from the environment point of view. I know you're a committed environmentalist. Were you disappointed when you heard the news about the Volkswagen emissions issue in the last couple of weeks?
Well, I mean, I think any time that you know, that something affects our industry, you know, it can be disappointing. But you know, I think the fallout from that is yet to be seen, and we just don't know.
And are you certain that from your own point of view that Ford has met its requirements in this area?
Yes, we've done a lot of inquiries into this. We don't have any defeat devices, and so we, you know, and of course, you're always asking those questions internally. Are we doing things the right way? And we need to continue to always ask those.
It's a really exciting time, though, isn't it, to be in the automotive industry? Things probably haven't changed like this for quite some time.
Well, I love it. I mean, to me, it's the most. I started my own venture capital firm 7 years ago to invest in mobility solutions because I saw this field, even that far back, as something that I believed was going to explode, and of course now it is. I've never seen a more exciting time in my lifetime. As you point out, my great-grandfather, whose family was from County Cork, from the time he launched Ford Motor Company, for the next 100 years, it didn't change a lot. Of course, there were lots of evolutions, but there were no revolutions. Now, whether it's powertrain, how people own vehicles, whether we're going to actually have drivers or not in the future, it's all changing very, very quickly, and I think it's spectacular. But you need to take a step back and say, why are we doing it? Not how, but why. And the reason is to make people's lives better. If we can give them back what is their most precious commodity, which is time, and so they're not sitting in traffic jams, they're not burning fuel sitting at a stoplight and not being able to get through that light because of traffic. If we can do that for people, really enable traffic and people to move freely in big cities, then that's something I think it's a very worthwhile pursuit. So you need to keep in mind, we're doing it to make people's lives better, not just for the technology's sake.
As I mentioned earlier, you are speaking at the Web Summit this week, and I guess a lot of people there will be startups starting out on a journey looking to one day become the likes of the next Ford Motor Company. What will your advice be to them on how to make it big?
Well, look, first of all, have a good idea. Second of all, have a great business plan, because you can be a visionary, and if you don't have a plan to back it up, you're not going to succeed. So, but also, I think it's equally incumbent upon the big companies like ours to be open to them, because so much of the new technology and so many of the new solutions are going to come not just from the already big established companies in the technology field, but from these disruptors, these startups. And we need to be curious enough and nimble enough to welcome them to do business with us.
Finally, as you mentioned, your roots go back to County Cork. I think it's something you're pretty proud of.
Very proud of. And yeah, I mean, I was lucky enough to be inducted a few years ago into the Irish American Hall of Fame, and it was something that meant a lot to me. And my family talks about our Irish heritage all the time. I've brought my children here and taken them to the family farm, and it's great.
Excellent. Well, Bill Ford, Executive Chairman of the Ford Motor Company, thank you very much indeed for talking to us.
Thank you.